Hello, everyone, and welcome to my, unexpected Thursday night live. I'm going to give you guys a thorough presentation regarding the truth about the elimination of the patriotic hero. And of course, he was a Y hat. I was able to prove that. Charlie Kirk. And so, if you guys could bear with me, we're going to go deep tonight. I was able to not only access information from the alliance itself, but also information that was confirmed by Commander Valiant Thor. So it turns out that the day before his assassination, he did go on a podcast. I believe it was the Ben podcast, and he did say that the Jews own the media, and he also said something about the war in Israel and the truth about. If you guys want to know the truth about the war in Israel, but there is more to the story that you guys are going to be mind blown that nobody else has covered. But again, on the Ishmael Perez podcast, you guys are going to get in-depth information regarding why the deep state took him out. And yes, many of you guys are probably thinking, well, where's all the evidence? It's a false flag event. He was taken away. Guys, all the evidence is there. The two guys behind him were doing hand signs. And when a guy does that to his cap, if you guys study about the military, that is a signal to shoot. When a guy does that to his cap, and then the guy next to him was doing some like hand symbols, okay? Not to mention, the rifle that was used was encrypted with something. Nobody yet really knows what it was, but it was encrypted with something. And it was obviously not a rookie shooter. This guy was obviously some sort of a ex-military of some kind. And so, yeah, it wasn't a false flag. It was actually true. And there's a reason why. And I'm going to get right into it. For those that don't know me, my name is Ishmael Perez, and I'm the author of those two amazing books behind me, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, and of course, Our Cosmic Origin, both which are designed to reveal suppressed information in these wonderful times that we're living in. And of course, they are available on Amazon. All right, let's get right into it. So, according to insiders, okay, this is what the mainstream media and really no other truther has covered this. So, I'm going to be sharing some highly classified information regarding what happened 2 days ago. And not to mention, today is the anniversary of 9/11. So I also want to share a little bit about the Black Sun rituals regarding some of the horrific events that have taken place in history and how it all connects to the Black Sun cult, including what happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday. So, on September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated with military precision while standing for truth on an American college campus. This wasn't a random act, guys. This wasn't an accident, and I will explain why in a little bit. It was a calculated, professional hit that was connected to counterintelligence and the Israeli Mossad, okay? And this was a message sent in daylight, and of course, backed by some of what remains of these elites that have quietly put in place the plan to eliminate Charlie. Okay, so he was very young. He was only 31 years old. As many of you guys know, he was a husband, a father, a patriot. Trump awarded him with the presidential award, I believe, days before. So, he stood against global control, right? He challenged the universities, big tech, big pharma, right? And the alphabet agencies who answered to no one except unelected power. And now, of course, he was taken out, okay? The sniped from 200 yards away in the middle of a college campus while 3,000 students watched, okay? I don't know if you guys were able to see some of the footage that is circulating all over the internet, but yeah, you could tell it was all planned. You had a guy behind him doing his little hand signature with the hat. And right before the fire was launched, he did a question was asked regarding the mass shootings, and he was talking about, and he was going to respond. So upon that question, that was the cue, right? His response was, "Is this not Is this not including the gangs? And then that's, of course, when we see, and you guys can see it. The video is going viral where there is something going through his throat and the blood is coming in his white shirt. Okay, so you want to know why this happened, right, guys? Well, it's because he was going to go public in 3 days, which was tomorrow, following the, of course, assassination, which was a deep state corruption that was going to blow the lid off the deep state. So he was going to go public regarding some deep corruption, and I'm going to explain in a little bit. So this attempt was a holdover, of course, from the prior administration connected to even Obama and the axis of evil. It was reinforced with AI surveillance tools, predictive behavior modeling, media blacklist, and unconstitutional threat prevention. Programs secretly tied to international intelligence operations. Yes, it was international. There is evidence that the order came from the Mossad, okay? And even after President Trump returned and took his rightful place on January 20th, 2025, the roots of this globalist infestation still run deep, of course, within some of these three-letter agencies and the university systems. And of course, for those who read my book, The Secret Government, guess who controls the university systems? The Jesuits, right? Deep state cabal. Well, the Utah Valley University was no exception. In fact, according to insiders, the Utah Valley University has received millions in educational partnership grants over the past 5 years from globalist aligned NGOs fronting as climate, health, and equity organizations. That money came with strings, surveillance, pilots, speech monitoring, behavioral tracking of students under the guise of inclusivity enforcement. And of course, Charlie Kirk was about to blow the lid off of this and much more. Charlie was on the verge of exposing one of the biggest educational scandals in the US history. And this was supposed to be done tomorrow, 72 hours prior to his elimination, okay? According to multiple internal sources, Charlie had recently acquired classified whistleblower files from within the Utah State Education Board, documents revealing that the UN-linked think tanks was embedded in the Utah University, okay, administrative structure, shaping the curriculum, collecting student data, and even working with foreign AI contractors to profile students based on their risk level to the state. Well, you want to know what risk level that meant, right? Well, we do know that he was a patriot. He was a strong Christian conservative, and he had a huge influence. Okay, and yes, he was connected with the White Hats. Okay, if you match the profile, the online activity was tagged. Okay, the classes were being monitored at the Utah University, and the campuses were accessing subtle restrictions. Okay, Charlie was set to drop all of this on October 2025, okay, which was tomorrow, okay, in a nationally televised town hall series titled The Surveillance State in Academia. That was going to be a big bombshell, okay, that he was going to drop tomorrow. The first stop, of course, was Utah. And so it was reported that the sniper's bullet was fired from a rooftop. And if you guys really think this was just some lone actor, I'm sure you guys know it wasn't. Just like any other thing that has ever happened in history, it was all planned by, of course, the people that don't want to lose their grip or their power, right? And only 6 campus officers were assigned to a 3,000 person outdoor event featuring a top tier political figure who travels with private security. So the Lasse Center rooftop, which was where the sniper was, which is a clear sniper perch, was left completely unsecured, right? Well, this happened earlier in Butler, Pennsylvania, right? Same tactics. Despite the very recent attempted assassination of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, just 6 months ago. Well, video footage clearly shows a figure on the rooftop right before the shot. Not AI, not doctored, but real verified footage. And yet the media continues to bury the truth, okay? Well, the bullet struck Kirk in the neck from about 200 yards, and this was a no random act, right? This was a military trained precision, likely with a suppression semi-auto long-range rifle based on velocity and wound profile. So whoever pulled the trigger was obviously protected, right? A lot of people were in on it, including the two guys behind um, Kirk that were doing their hand signatures, right? The guy was doing that with his hat, and the other guy was doing like this, which is, again, these are hand gestures that we see in the baseball, right? Letting the pitcher know whether to throw a fastball, to throw a curveball, and so on and so forth. But they also use those, I guess, hand gestures in military, okay? So whoever pulled that trigger was apparently protected. It was very well coordinated. And this wasn't just a shooter, guys. This was a sanctioned takeout carried out under the cover of a complicit system that pretends to protect Americans while hunting down its enemies. Can you turn on the air conditioner, please? Yeah. Thank you. The Biden regime, Brandon regime, built that infrastructure, right, when he was in office. And the global elites just flipped the switch. Well, let's not kid ourselves, guys. This doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The Brandon regime, during its years of illegitimate power from 2021 to 2024, laid the exact technological and bureaucratic groundwork that allows this kind of hit to happen with full cover. Fusion centers were expanded across the U.S. under the Department of Homeland Security, under the Brandon administration, leading to this event, collecting everything from license plate reads to social sentiment scores. The Disinformation Governor Board, quietly repackaged after public backlash, morphed into a decentralized system used by schools, social media, and search engines to blacklist voices like Charlie. CIA contractors operating under the National Science Foundation embedded agents in colleges under AI ethics research, a ruse, of course, that gave foreign aligned interests direct access to student records. And all of that infrastructure, unfortunately, still remained, even though Trump was already in office. Well, just like the attempted assassination on Trump, this time, of course, they were able to be successful. And when they tried to take out President Trump and Butler, of course, they did fail miraculously, but they did learn, they did learn to not fail again. Okay. So they went lower this time. They picked, of course, not the head, but the neck. They picked off a general in the movement, a man who had become a symbol for the youth defiance. And I'm talking about Charlie Kirk, college rebellion, and anti-globalist awakening. So Charlie Kirk was a father, a fighter, a front-line soldier for American sovereignty. He was a walking threat to the illusion of control that they've spent decades constructing. And now, of course, he was removed coldly, publicly, surgically, and of course, it was all orchestrated, okay? And this wasn't meant to terrorize not just Charlie's family, but of course, people who are willing to speak the truth, okay? And in a way, we could say that these far leftist organizations, whether you call them Antifa, Soros-run organizations, they literally believe that they could start a civil war. Okay, they literally, but there's more behind this. Like I said, Charlie was about to drop some information. He was about to disclose some corruption, not only regarding the universities, but regarding other stuff that I'm about to share with you guys in a little bit. Well, we could say that Charlie's wife, Erica, had no words. Of course, she was just completely in despair, But let us say this, right? To Erica out there, if she's watching my channel, your husband will never be forgotten, Erica. He was a true patriot and a true hero as far as we see him. And he died standing for what's right. He died refusing to bend to the forces that have stolen this country from the inside, and his legacy will only grow louder. To Charlie's children, this country owes you everything. Your father didn't just die in vain, okay? He died in battle. And history will mark his sacrifice as a turning point. And, you know, this global war, guys, is really reaching some sort of crescendo. Okay, this is about human control versus human freedom. The globalist technocracy, the same elite circles that orchestrated the September 11 coup, and I'm going to get right into that in a little bit. I'm going to explain the rituals and this, what's happening from behind the scenes in terms of numerology and what these Black Sun occultists do when events like this occurs. It's part of a ritual, believe it or not, guys. It's part of a ritual, and there is no coincidence that they did this. What, a day before the 9/11 anniversary? So apparently the cabal built a system that rewards submission and pushes truth. And now they are trying to take out Americans in daylight who speak against it, right? In many accounts, they are trying to ignite what is known as a civil war, right? And I'm hoping that they don't orchestrate another thing like January 2020, right? When they stole the election. And you guys know what happened. That was all orchestrated by the deep state. Those weren't Trump supporters. I hope they don't do something similar to that could literally, cause some sort of civil war. But they are underestimating the American soul, right? They took out Charlie Kirk to prevent him from dropping the first bombshells of corruption, guys. This was going to be huge, right? This was targeting this was a targeted political takeout. Let's just be real. Fueled by years of radical leftist hatred that festered unchecked, emboldened by universities, media jackals, and the entire rotting system that feeds off silencing voices like Charlie. Well, the regime didn't just, take out a man. They declared an open war on truth, youth, and freedom. And this time, President Trump is not holding back, right? He did say that the shooter deserves the death penalty. Okay. So for years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to, of course, the Nazis. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the social media, but there's a lot of people that are saying, yeah, I'm glad that he was taken out because he was a Nazi and this and that. And this is coming from people that are associated with Antifa and what I mean, right? They're deep democrats, right? Well, this rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country, okay? There is no just words. They are indictments. Trump knows exactly, actually, who pulled the trigger behind the trigger. And so do the alliance, okay? Charlie Kirk wasn't just a patriot. He was the firewall between our youth and the regime's indoctrination. And he was about to expose the corruption taking place out at the level of the universities. Well, at the age of 31, Charlie Kirk did build the largest conservative student movement in American history, right? Which was a huge threat to the globalists. Turning Point the USA was a direct threat to the left's monopoly. That was his organization. Turning Point USA was a direct threat not only to the left's monopoly, but in the minds of General Z, right? He didn't just hand out slogans. He taught history. He explained economics. And he made young people question the lies that they were force-fed in classroom designed to produce submissive cattle, not citizens. Okay, so he was actually helping people become critical thinkers. And he was also hated because he exposed their agenda. He gave students the tools to fight back. And for that, the globalists, especially, Netanyahu, painted a target on his back. And yes, the White Hats or the military insiders did confirm that it wasn't no coincidence that when he talked about how corrupt the Israeli government is and the truth about Israel and who really controls the media, which is the Israeli Mossad, there wasn't no coincidence that the next day they took him out. Okay. Charlie, again, and a lot of it has to do with what he was about to reveal tomorrow, right? Charlie wasn't just teaching violence. He was teaching thought. but in the upside down controlled demolition of America that the left has orchestrated, uh, though itself um, though itself is violence, thought itself is violence if it challenges their control. Charlie inspired millions, okay? And everyone who knew him loved him, right? Well, the shock apparently turned into rage, and some people called him in the far right, the far left, and these are probably people that are associated with Antifa. They're calling him a Nazi for promoting school choice, and they justified his death or saying, yeah, it's a good thing that they did what they did to him, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you guys saw those, but even um, all these people from the far left are actually celebrating his death, okay? And that's not cool. So the blood is in their hands, right? The radical media who called him dangerous for wanting charter schools, the professors who mocked him for opposing socialism, the keyboard cowards who spent years calling him a fascist simply for what? For believing in the American sovereignty. Well, they spent years dehumanizing him, comparing him to monsters, right? Which is what they did to Trump when you guys think about it. How many times did they compare Trump to Hitler, right? Think about that. They stripped Charlie of his humanity in the public square. And then when someone finally pulled the trigger, they got quiet all of a sudden, right? Well, now you know who did it, right? Trump's address made it clear. This will not be tolerated. This is a political terrorism, and the regime's fingerprints are all over it. Well, according to Trump, quote, he said, my administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity, including the organization that funded it. And he's talking about, yes, he's talking about Antifa. And of course, who controls Antifa? Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay. Well, these organizations aren't just campus mobs. They're funded by NGOs. They're protected by media conglomerates, popped up by deep-pocketed billionaires who need compliant generations, right? They need zombies. They don't want free thinkers. And Charlie was not down for that. Charlie was encouraging students to become free thinkers. Charlie was encouraging students to think outside the box and to question the narrative, right? They don't want free people. And that's the reason why, of course, he was a target for many, many, many years. And, so there is a reason also why they removed him. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit. Again, Charlie was about to drop some serious disclosures regarding some corruptions, okay? Overall, the system that failed our generation because of the deep state was, you could say, Charlie Kirk gave us a voice within that system, okay? So in a way, he is a martyr. Did I say it right? Martyr, okay? For thousands, millions of young Americans, Charlie was the first person to tell them they weren't broken, okay? He inspired teenagers. He inspired young students to be motivated, to live their life, to live out their dreams, to go forward, right? He pumped people up. He was a great leader. And that wasn't their fault, of course, that they hated school. They didn't trust the media. And also, they felt alienated by a system that only rewards submission. Well, Gregory Lavkhov, a young writer and former student who had struggled his entire life in school, testified that Charlie changed everything, and he wasn't alone. Charlie's voice turned rejection into purpose. He gave youth the language to explain what they had felt all along, that something was deeply wrong with the educational system, and that their gut feeling wasn't the problem. The system was the problem. So he always fought for school choice. He exposed the horrific data that public schools and failing institutions produced, skyrocketing incarceration rates, teenage pregnancy, drug addiction, and ideological brainwashing. And he gave students tools to rebuild their lives. He emphasized the urgency of school choice. He pointed to data showing their charter school students that were far less likely to end up in jail or face teenage pregnancy. He was waking them up. And now they want his voice of course, eliminated from memory. So, let's not pretend that this was the first act of war, my friends, okay? Let's take it back to Butler, Pennsylvania. And by a miracle, President Trump, well, the alliance, positive President Trump, still with us. This was not an isolated incident. It follows a trail of political violence that's been accelerating at lightning speed from the attempted assassination, of course, of President Trump and Butler to the elimination of ICE agents. Yeah, a lot of ICE agents are being also taken out by these far leftists, to the execution of a healthcare executive on the streets of New York that was about to expose the truth about the pharmaceuticals. You guys remember that, right? That also took place. Every time the media downplays it, every time the media downplays it, every time the targets are the same, right? They just want to silence people. Well, the regime wants obedience, and when they can't have it, they use bullets. And Trump reminded the world that this is a pattern, right? The people, these evil people, are not just the shooters, right? They're not lone assassins. They're trained, perhaps ex-military, but they're the puppet masters. But it's really about the puppet masters behind the curtains that are pulling the strings, fueling the hate, and now, of course, executing the bloodshed. Okay, the radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. And this is why they, of course, hate Trump, because he speaks the truth that they've tried to bury. So, Charlie's elimination yesterday was meant to silence his message that he was about to deliver tomorrow. Okay. But like Trump said in his address, they failed. His voice is louder than ever, and his movement will not die. It will only multiply now. Okay. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before. And it's not even close. It's not about to close, okay? This isn't over. This is the beginning. And if the radical left thinks that they can actually eliminate ideas by taking out people, they are miscalculated, okay? Every person Charlie empowered is now a soldier in the fight for truth. And let me tell you, he did influence hundreds of thousands of students to think for themselves. Every student that he touched now carries his torch. Every speech that he gave is now a manifesto for intellectual rebellion. Okay. President Trump has declared a war on political terrorism as of yesterday. And this time, justice is coming. From the Oval Office, Trump made one thing clear, that the old rules are gone. We're not playing defense anymore. The gloves are off, okay? Will we ensure that his voice continues, that his message endures, and that his legacy, Charlie Kirk's legacy, will live on for countless generations to come? Yes, we will, okay? Trump has put the world on notice. Every group, every funder, every media chill who played a part in the climate that led to his elimination will be hunted down and held accountable, right? And Trump made this a declaration. They tried to take down a truth teller. Instead, they awakened a movement that they cannot stop. And no, it's not going to turn to a civil war, because we're going to be better than that, all right? They did try to elicit some sort of response from people like us, right? They want us to take our pitchforks out to the streets, and they want us to respond. But no, let's just stay calm, guys, right? Let's don't give in to what the deep state wants us to do. And let's, in fact, fight this without being violent, okay? Let's take the Martin Luther King approach. And yes, this is another situation like Martin Luther King, but I think this is on a different level. I believe that just like how we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s, I believe that we should celebrate Charlie Kirk's. Okay, every year we should, in memory of one of the greatest patriots and you could say leader in the youth movement, right? Well, right now the FBI is offering about $100,000 reward for any suspect that was connected to his takeout, right? And because America demands justice, and as of the 11th, which is today, I believe. Oh, by the way, today is September 11th, 2025. And yes, my friends, we are still steadily on a positive timeline trajectory. I should always say the date because there are pirated channels that steal my content and post it on these fake Ishmael Perez accounts. So today is the 11th of September, 2025. Well, today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation announced a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the individuals responsible for the, you know, assassination of conservative icon Charlie Kirk. The decision came just hours after the Bureau released two images of a person of interest in the case. The timing underscores the urgency. Federal agents are running out of patience and the nation is running out of excuses. The photographs show a man moving through a stairwell and dressed in a black long sleeve shirt emblazed with an American flag, wearing jeans and sunglasses and a dark hat, right? Calm, collective, confident enough to believe that he could actually walk away unseen. But now his face is burnt into American memory because it's all over the media, right? His image has been broadcast across every channel, every platform, and every screen. So they called it a tragic accident. This is what the mainstream Mockingbird media is calling it. And again, the far left is, celebrating this event. How horrific is that? It's like they want to start a civil war, right? But those who were paying attention knew that something far darker had just happened. Charlie Kirk was actually taken out, my friends, and the deep state had struck again. For years, Kirk stood as an unshakable force against the establishment, a firebrand conservative voice. But more than just that, my friends, he was a secret White Hat operative. And yes, I did confirm with Commander Valiant Thor that he was part of the alliance, working within a highly classified alliance to bring down a decades-old network of global corruption, beginning by exposing the NGOs associated with the corruptions at the university level. And again, this was something that he was going to divulge tomorrow. Kirk wasn't just speaking up against tyranny, he was actually helping to dismantle it piece by piece. And from behind the scenes, he had been working with a shadowy group of patriots embedded in the intelligence community, military officers, rogue NSA analysts, and former CIA operatives who had grown disillusioned with the rot from within Washington. Well, together they exposed election interference. They were about to, Little One trafficking rings, secret offshore biolabs, and unconstitutional surveillance programs. And Charlie was going to be the one that was going to drop the beans on all of this, beginning with the corruption that is happening at the university level. Okay. And yeah, Charlie was picked by the White Hats to be the messenger, to break the iceberg, which was going to lead to the revelations of the truth to the American people and the world. Okay. But the deep state wasn't, of course, going to let this happen. And in the weeks leading to his takeout, Kirk had grown more caution. His inner circle was tightening. His communications became encrypted. He canceled two major speaking engagements without explanation. And he told a close friend, I've seen something. If anything happens to me, it wasn't random. And this he said 2 weeks prior to yesterday, all right, according to the Alliance. Then came the leak, of course. An anonymous whistleblower, known only as Spectre, released documents tying high-ranking U.S. officials to a covert operation called Project Dominion. Again, this is information, guys, that you guys, I don't even think any other truther is covering the depths of what I am covering here tonight. Okay? So, again, there was a covert operation called Project Dominion that was being released, or it was about to be released, which was an illegal mass data harvesting systems used to blackmail judges, journalists, and politicians. And Charlie Kirk was going to expose all of this. Okay? He was going to expose Project Dominion. The documents were scheduled to be viewed by a closed-door congressional committee as soon as Charlie blew the whistle on this. And again, this was supposed to happen tomorrow, okay? Charlie Kirk was preparing to go public, my friends, with all of these files that were given to him by the White Hats. So he was chosen by the White Hats, okay? And then, of course, and this was supposed to happen 72 hours later, which corresponds to tomorrow. And yesterday he was taken out, right? Go figure. Very similar to what happened in September 11, 2001, when they had all the Nicera records and documents in what? In one of the Twin Towers, right? And that was about to be released the next day on the 12th of September. Same rhetoric, my friends, okay? So the official narrative unraveled quickly, but the truth couldn't be buried forever. Whispers among the White Hats spoke of a new face in the silent war. Kirk's final data cache, labeled Omega Protocol, was rumored to be in the hands of a trusted successor, encrypted, and I can't reveal who his name is. And so this will be released. Again, this ignited the situation in favor of the White Hats, okay? And the deep state will not be able to strike again. Okay? They thought they killed him. The deep state thought that by eliminating him yesterday, that would end the exposure of these files. Well, they didn't realize that they created a martyr, right? And only ignited the movement for truth. Well, Charlie Kirk died fighting a hidden war that most people still refuse to see. But his mission isn't over. And the deep state just made its biggest mistake yesterday. Because when you take out a truth teller, you only make the truth louder. Okay, guys? And, okay, as you guys know, today is September 11th, and exactly 24, well, what was it? 24 years ago, right? 24 years ago, we had what happened in New York, right? With the Twin Towers. Well, I just want to share a little bit with you guys some information that I think you guys are going to appreciate, all right? But before I do, one last thing regarding Charlie Kirk, okay? Again, Charlie Kirk's final interview with Ben Shapiro took an uneasy turn when Kirk was asked if the media was truly being honest about Israel. Well, he pointed out that the conservatives has pushed back against what happened in 2019 lockdowns. He revealed the truth about the funding of Ukraine and about the open border policy. And he said all roads lead to Israel. That's what he said, okay? Kirk admitted that he had become more open to asking hard questions about Israel itself, okay? And he did say that, even the media was controlled by Israel, okay? Well, anyways, the September 11, 2001 incident was a black sun ritual sacrifice, a form of high black magic, and it was a massive fear and panic inducing the middle pillar ritual, okay? Which is Kabbalistic high black magic, people that are part of the occult, and it's like a mass hex on the masses, you could say, inducing trauma-based mind control on an epic scale that changed the course of modern history. Well, the destruction of the Twin Towers was a sophisticated form of what is known within the occult as chaos magic by the Kabbalistic shepherds of the deep state, right? Which these are the people above the deep state, which is a community of black magicians and sorcerers who actually are associated with what is known as the Black Sun cult, okay? And I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in a little bit. Well, when the Twin Towers, which are, again, according to symbolism, are considered the two pillars, when they collapsed, it metaphysically symbolized the lightning flash of creation or destruction. And on the Sephirothic tree, which is the inverted Kabbalistic tree of life, again, the Kabbalah always invert ancient mysteries, right, or ancient occultism. Lucifer, it indicated Lucifer falling from heaven. The Kabbalistic flaming sword from Kether, which is represented by the crown, to the earth, which is represented by Malkuth, for those that have studied the Kabbalistic Sephiroth. So the two pillars represented duality, and they were being broken down uh, by the deep state, right? By the people that are associated with the cult of the Black Sun. Now, really quick, guys, because again, today is the anniversary of the tragic event that took place 24 years ago. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because this is really important to understand why Waco, Texas happened, why the Vegas situation happened years ago, and why every event has happened. Okay, well, what if I tell you guys that for centuries, well, let's just say it like this. Yeah, for centuries beneath the surface of human civilization, there is a secret order that has operated in the shadows, manipulating events, sowing chaos, and engineering tragedy. Well, this is known to the occult whispers as the cult, or to the occult insiders as the cult of the Black Sun. This elusive group believes that global catastrophes are far more than political or social phenomena. They are what is known as ritual sacrifices, designed to feed an ancient cosmic intelligence that dwells beyond the veil of our dimension. Well, guess who that ancient cosmic intelligence is? The AI god, Omega. Okay. Well, the origins of the Black Sun cult could be traceable back to antiquity. The cult's mythology revolves around an astral body called, or not an astral, but a hidden body that is known as the Black Sun, which is, of course, an inverted star that exists in the spot in between the space between realities, which is connected to what is called the phantom matrix, which is an inorganic loop uh, that is devoid from consciousness and from source. Well, organic consciousness and source. Okay. So, according to the secret knowledge, this entity demands energy, not of light and life, but of fear, sorrow, and destruction, right? Which is very similar to LOOSH. Well, it's not just the reptilians that feed off of human suffering, it's also their God, right? Their overlord, Omega. Its nourishment is not sunlight, but human suffering. Okay. That's why they conduct these rituals, right? Mass shootings, whatever you want to call them. The cult of the Black Sun believes that by offering large scale trauma to this entity, which is the AI God, they are granted spiritual insight, control over reality, and longevity, right? Beyond death. Well, historians have dismissed the cult as a fringe myth, but the patterns of synchronized global tragedies, each followed by bizarre anomalies and mysteries and mysterious symbolism, has led some independent critical researchers to reconsider the truth about this. Okay. Well, these rituals are the disasters, my friends, the mechanisms of offering, and they could be traceable back to antiquity. Okay. The Cathars of Rome practiced it, right? During the Roman Empire. The Babylonians practiced it, okay? And then, of course, the corrupt fallen Atlanteans. Members of the cult hold high-ranking positions in governments all throughout history, intelligence agencies, media conglomerates, and religious institutions. Through these positions, they are able to engineer what appears to be accidents, and they're not, terror attacks, or lone wolf shootings, when in reality they are ritually timed sacrifices designed to coincide with rare celestial alignments. And the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is because Charlie Kirk was another example of this. Okay. He was a sacrifice. These events follow a familiar cycle. You have the shock and the awe, like the awe, right? A major public event occurs, often with mass casualties and maximum emotional impact. And they feed off of that emotional impact, right? And they funnel that energy to feed through a black hole, right? They feed that energy because they do open portals, by the way. These high-level magicians who have been at the highest echelons of the shadow government do feed that energy to their alien off-world overlords, who in turn feed that energy to their AI god. Okay, this is how deep it goes, guys. Also, the symbolic signatures, repeating numbers, occult geometry, and references to the black sun archetype are embedded in the location, timing, or even the reporting of the event. The narrative control, right? Within hours, media outlets push a singular narrative while suppressing alternative theories. Energetic harvesting, which is part of the collective mourning, right? Right now, millions of patriots are mourning, right? To give you guys an example, well, who is that mourning is feeding the black hole sun, right? Fear and chaos are believed to generate a psychic frequency that is harvested through ritual technology hidden in plain sight, monuments, media broadcasts, or even digital networks, right? This is all part of the false martyrdom paradigm. One of the cult's most disturbing practices is the ritual takeout of public figures, engineered in such a way that the victim becomes a polarizing symbol. The martyr is neither hero nor villain, but a living sigil, sacrificed to fracture the collective psyche. Think about this, guys, right? This is really what's been happening. When you think of Waco, Texas, the Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, the cult often chooses these figures based on numerological resonance, ancestral bloodlines, or even hidden agreements made long before their rise to fame. So I guess right now this is more referring to, of course, Lincoln, right? Abraham Lincoln, and many figures that, of course, the counterintelligence working with the, you know what I'm talking about, Benjamin Netanyahu, took out in the last, 50 years? Think about that. These sacrifices are said to open dimensional gateways through which the black sun emits its influence, shifting timelines, rewriting memory, and tightening the grip on Earth. Well, the cult of the black sun does not merely seek power on Earth. Their writings suggest a far darker motive: to prepare humanity for absorption into the black sun's dominion, which is a post-apocalyptic reality governed by entropy, submission, and artificial intelligence. All roads lead to the AI overlord Omega, right? In terms of the black hole sun. Some esoteric scholars have argued that the recent spike in global tragedies, digital addiction, and emotional numbness are indicators that the black sun is already feeding. The more disconnected, and yes, guys, the black sun is represented by Saturn, which is symbolized by the occultist. Remember the Saturnalia festivals that, of course, later were translated as the Christmas festival, right? Christmas is no other than the reorganization of Saturnalia, which was an ancient pagan festival that was adopted by what? The Romans, right? Well, who were the Romans worshiping? Belial, Marduk, the son of Enki. Well, who was Marduk offering his sacrifices to? His father. And who is his father working for? Omega. Okay. Again, the more disconnected and fearful humanity becomes, the more potent the offerings. And this is why it's important to not be in fear. This is why it's important to not pay attention or give your energy to the doomsdayers. This is why it's important to stay positive and only focus on the ascending positive timeline, my friends. You don't want to, by default, give your energy to the black, cold sun, okay? So, there is a resistance and an awakening taking place due to the preservation of the positive ascending timeline, okay? So, it is not all lost, guys, okay? Underground movements known as the solar Gnostics have emerged to counter the black sun's influence. I know this is the first time I'm sharing who the solar Gnostics are. The solar Gnostics are an advanced group of what is known as white magicians, and I think I've talked about them before, that are different than humans. They live for hundreds and hundreds of years. They are the ancient initiates, or at least descendants of ancient initiates of what was known as the ancient white brotherhood. Okay. So in modern times, we could say that they're called the solar Gnostics. And again, the term Gnostics means to have a direct connection to source. Okay. So these are high level Gandalfs in terms of Lord of the Rings. They are the high level white magicians. Okay. The solar Gnostics. They have emerged to counter the Black Sun's influence. Okay. Through spiritual awakening, right? They are at the highest echelons of what we call the Earth Alliance. And yes, they are intermediaries, right? The liaisons between the galactics and the 3D Earth Y-Hat movement. So through the spiritual awakening and sacred geometry and resonance with the true solar logos, which is represented by the Christ energies, which is the opposite of the Black Sun logos, which is the anti-life equation, right? Artificial timelines, AI. These mystics believe that humanity can sever the cult's influence. And we have, guys, all of the work that you guys are doing out there, you light warriors, light workers, even though I don't know you guys on a day-to-day basis, I know that a lot of you guys are doing this light work, okay? And you guys are working for the solar logos, which is represented by the Christ. These mystics believe that humanity can sever the cult's influence and reclaim its sovereignty frequency. And we have, my friends, okay? So they warn that the first step to liberation is awareness, that by seeing the pattern, one can actually begin to break free from it, okay? So, yeah, I told you guys I was going to go deep today. That's the thing. You guys know pretty much that whenever I give a presentation, it's not just about, highlighting what everybody else is talking about in the alternative media, other truthers, but you guys always know that you guys are going to go deep into the rabbit hole when I do my presentation, because I go deep, guys. I consult with Commander Valiant Thor. I do tons of research, and so you guys are always going to get the deep, deep truth of what's really happening, right, regarding the Black Sun cult and its connections to the ritual sacrifice committed yesterday. Unfortunately, our good brother and patriot hero, our cries and our prayers go out to his family. Again, if his wife is watching me, I just want to tell you that we are with you in prayer, and that your husband's legacy will always continue. It will continue through us, okay? It will continue persevering through us. Now, I do want to welcome Starcadian, who is in the house. Thank you so much. And by the way, I did unblock Neo and a few other cats that were somehow mistakenly blocked. So, Neo, my friend, if you're out there, you are no longer blocked, okay? I completely unblocked you, as well as other people. Yeah, so, this is a surprise live. I normally don't go live on Thursday night, but because I'm not going to be going live on Saturday due to the alien event, and, by Monday, this is going to be old information. So I wanted to be the first one to reveal why he was taken out. Not only was he a martyr, not only was he another ritual, but he was about to release some deep, sensitive information that was about to blow the lid on everything, beginning with the corruption of the Utah University and other universities, and other, of course, files that were given to him, because he was picked as the spokesperson for the Y-Hats. Okay, he was a Y-Hat, confirmed, my friends. But again, this only fired the movement for other truthers to come out, and this only fired the movement for the files to be pushed even further. And again, the deep state, they want us to respond, right, negatively. Guys, this is a time to really go within yourself, and let's do things the right way, not through violence, right? Let's take the Mahatma Gandhi approach, the Jesus approach. We don't do things through violence. We do things through the collective, through our meditations, through our prayers, right? By continuing projecting the positive timeline, the ascension of the earth, which is going to be precipitated by a disclosure and revelation of the truth of everything that has been happening not only for decades, but for thousands of years. That's how we win the war, my friends, all right? The digital warriors are doing their part. Shout out to Michael Jaco out there. Shout out to what's his name? The Patriot Street Fighter. Shout out to Scott McKay out there. Shout out to all the Patriot warriors that are actually on the front line, that are exposing, that are telling the truth. Give a shout out to everybody out there, okay, guys? All my brothers and sisters. Shout out to Kerry Cassidy. Shout out to Nino David Rodriguez. Shout out to 107. I mean, these are all digital warriors. Okay. So at this point, I just wanted to remind you guys that I'm not going to be going live till next Monday. And I will be attending the Alien event tomorrow. That's going to be at the Sonosta Hotel and Resort in Vegas. And again, if you guys mention my name, you're only going to pay $60 for all 3 days. And we're going to have speakers like Brad Olson, Captain. No, I'm sorry, he was already promoted. Admiral. What's his name? Super Soldier. Randy Kramer is going to be there. Kerry Cassidy and many other people that are, part of the disclosure movement. They're all going to be there. So we're going to have a lot of speakers, great panels, and I think I'm going to be on most of the panels. So I can't wait to see some of you guys in person. I'm excited. Don't forget that my September courses are up for grab. I do have some spots left for our Cosmic Origin class, as well as Ascension 2.0. And for those that are just getting their feet wet, Ascension Basics, okay? Learn how to navigate between the 3D to the 5D. Learn the proper techniques that are going to help you guys stay in that present moment that will help you in your own ascension, okay? Anything else that I want to share before I take Q&A? I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and take Q&A. I'm going to take this as a normal live. I'm not going to just give you guys the intel and say bye. I'm going to go ahead and take some time to take some questions now. So I do want to welcome everyone that is on here. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And so I'm going to go ahead and just give us some shout outs. I see Eddie K in the house, and even Eddie K was blocked. That was weird. I see Neo is back. Trinity K is back. William Ryan, Pam 909, Lee Starr, Mina Harper, Angela, Sylvia Vidal, Sarah, Jan R, Golden Oracle, Overwhelmed 25-8, William Ryan, Priscilla Alderetz, Greg Straub, Blue Rose, Jeffrey One Unlimited, and of course 2,400 freedom fighters, light warriors, patriots, Jedis, galactic Jedis that are all in the house. If you guys could give me a moment, I have to use the head. There you go. Perfect. Oops. Again, this sign was created by Galactic Jedi Randy, who lives in Los Angeles. There we go. That's good enough. Let me go ahead and mute it. I'll be right back in a minute, guys. I am back, everyone. I am back. Okay, it's time for Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and take the questions. If you guys could type your questions in capital letters, that would be greatly appreciated. Let me put my glasses on so I could actually see the questions. Alrighty. Um, all right. Thank you for the super chat, Nathan Taylor. So, will we see Charlie Kirk again in the 5D? Absolutely. Yes. He was such a good soul that he will be waiting for us in the 5D. Absolutely. I know a lot of you guys think this was a false flag, but according to the insiders and the Alliance reports that I received, it wasn't a false flag. He was scheduled to release, to begin, of course, the releasing of some files and exposing the corruption at the university levels. And he was actually picked by the White Hats to do so. So, to me, he was more of a hero than Martin Luther King. Okay, and I believe that we should always honor him. Every year, we should honor him for the hero that he was. Tracy Doge is saying that she's concerned for my safety because I give you guys a lot of inside info. How do we know the same one happened to you? Will Valiant Thor protect you? I hope so. I appreciate your concern, Tracy Doge or Dodge, but I believe that because I am a super soldier, it is impossible to take me out. And yes, I do have special protection from the Galactics. Yes, there is going to be a plan B for releasing the files that Charlie was scheduled to release tomorrow. Again, guys, this only ignited the truth movement, okay? They can't stop us, okay? They can't stop us. Jesus, JFK, RFK, Malcolm, MLK, CK, so many heroes. Yeah, that's true. So many heroes. And again, a lot of these assassinations are part of like I said, they're part of the Black Sun cult ritual. So thank you, Anna Kindness 1111 for your super chat. She says, "Hi Ishmael, why was Charlie not protected since he worked with the Y Hats?" It wasn't that he wasn't protected. Like I said, weeks prior to his takeout, his security doubled and everything. It's just that what happened was the the cabal was able to really be crafty when it came to this. And it's not because he didn't have protection. He did have protection. He did walk with bodyguards. And again, this was the Whiteheads did not see this coming. In other words, they didn't see this coming at all. Was Charlie Kirk a star seed? I wouldn't doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I'm not doubting that he was. Oh yeah, 72 hours. That would have been 2 days from now. I apologize. I forget. In 3 days is 72 hours. So it was scheduled to release the info on the 13th of September. I do have another super chat from Dakota Mindscape. She says, "Will people going to the 50 be leaving the Earth now?" Um, that is a good question. I am not sure, but there is a huge possibility that the people that are already leaving their human body, right, are probably leaving because they're going into the 5D Earth. So that could be a possibility. I am not sure. I'm going to have to go deep into that. This is a good question, Stephanie Garcia. Why wasn't Project Looking Glass used to prevent this? I am not sure. I am not sure. But get this, guys. Borders, or was it Barnes and Noble, released the book titled The Assassination of Charlie Kirk a day prior to yesterday. Go figure. Did you guys hear about that? That a day prior to yesterday, Barnes and Noble had just released a book titled The Assassination of Charlie Kirk. Think about that. Yes, that's right. A book came out called The Death of Charlie Kirk one day before he was shot. Exactly. Guys, I don't think he was taken over what is it called? Pro- Custody protection. No, I don't think so. I think this was this was real. I mean, think about it. His funeral is in a few days in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, so yeah, this was a little different. I really think this was the deep state's final attempt to pretty much silence the white hat representative that was going to start releasing a lot of information regarding the corruption. I might have accidentally unblocked some trolls when I was trying to go through who was blocked. I unblocked like 4 or 5 people. I wasn't sure. So, our Starcadian, if I unblocked some trolls that are not aligned with who we are, then I guess go ahead and take them out again. But don't take out Neo. Neo is part of the Galactic Jedi tribe. Yes, that is true. Lynn Davis says Charlie's soul made this plan before coming to Earth. Did the shooter also make this plan? No, the shooter was a hired ex-military, okay? And he was working who was working for the deep state. Deborah Nodelman, thank you so much for your super chat. I listened to GFL today and they said this possible was part of his soul contract. Can you speak on this? Well, everything that happens is part of a soul contract, right? The way your life is designed, the parents that you pick before incarnated, it's all part of your contract. So everything is in a way pre-planned before coming into incarnation. Okay, so that is so true. Ishmael, can you recommend any steps that we can take to keep our vibration high heading into the ascension? Many steps that you can take. The first and foremost, stay connected, meditate, pray, stay connected to God always. God, always make that connection to God. Be mindful, be in the presence. Again, take my courses. I go into detail. I teach you guys techniques. I give you guys all the information needed that will help you guys navigate these transformative times. Thank you so much, Nathan Taylor, for your super chat. Your question is, how come they did not take him to a med bed? Because I heard that they can bring people back from the dead, and I heard there are 2 med beds in each county. That's a very good question, Nathan. I am not sure why that didn't happen. I could always ask Commander Valiant Thor and answer that question next Monday, but that is a very good question. I thought about that too. I was like thinking, why didn't they take him to a medbed? Good question. Yes, engage in positive hobbies away from tech. That is so true. That is so true. Oh, you are so welcome. Jessica Love says, "Hi Ishmael, thank you again for your time, effort, and love." You know, I love serving the cause for the awakening, guys. It is an honor to be here and share information, give you guys knowledge, not just about intel, but about other things, metaphysics, spirituality. Um, that is part of my soul contract. Speaking about soul contracts. So it is an honor to serve. It is an honor to be here at this time. Again, guys, I'm not going to be going live this Saturday. I'm going to be going live next Monday. So I did an emergency live today just to give you guys the full scoop as to why he was taken out and how he was part of a ritual. It was a sacrifice. And of course, it's no coincidence that these sacrifices always happen around the same time, right? The day after, which is today, was what? The anniversary of September 11. So there is no coincidences, right? This is part of the Black Sun cult ritual agenda. Yes, Cindy's asking me, Ish, was this the shot heard around the world? I believe the whole world is watching. Yes, I believe so. Thank you, Sue, for your super chat. Are there still Draco reptilians behind all this? Who is pulling the strings? The Jews? Is it Israel and the fake Jews? And are they the Saturn cult? Yes to all three questions. No, not so much the Draco reptilians. It is the AI God himself now. Okay. The Draco reptilians were actually removed by the Galactic Alliance and Solar Warden within the last few years, especially as they have been cleaning out the dumps, right? The deep underground bases. But yes, we could say that all roads lead to Netanyahu and the fake Jews. Absolutely. That's right. Golden Oracle reminds us that the light will prevail. Amen to that. Ishmael, I heard that a clone could be grown in 3 months. Is that true? This is a question from Jill Hunt. That is true, Jill Hunt. You heard correctly. No, Charlie did. I don't think he had a clone. I don't think so. At the end of this live, I do want to do a collective prayer for his family and his children that were are innocent, and they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. and all their loved ones. Okay, so at the end of this live, let's all pray for his family, his wife, and his three children. Good question by Kristen Lovejoy. What can we do to counteract this evil? Again, the deep state is always trying to elicit a response in order to ignite what is known as a civil war, right, between the Antifa, woke movement, and us. But let's not give in to that. Let's approach things by using the Gandhi method, which is nonviolence. We do it through prayer and through our collective meditation. Okay, that's how we win this war, guys. And by sharing the truth to those that are ready, by planting the seeds. And everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I think somebody mentioned that Michael Jaco is spinning the narrative that this was staged and he's really still alive. You guys are entitled to believe whatever you want, all right? Yes, I believe we are all now ready for the first wave of disclosure. I agree. And yes, we all need to stay in our higher vibrational selves. I also second that. Yes, that's right. Darkness always thrives on a reaction from the good. So directing your attention elsewhere infuriates them. That is so, so true. You can't fight fire with fire, guys. We win this war through what? Unconditional love and compassion. That's how we win the war. This is our opportunity to apply the Gandhi method, which is the Christ method. This is a good explanation. Multiple timelines, multiple realities. Well, if you guys adopt the many Earth theories, the alternative Earth realities, there is an alternative Earth realities where he was preserved and he wasn't shot. So that is also true. But are we in that collective reality? I am not sure. I think in this Earth version of reality, I think he was really taken out. Like I mentioned, he was being used as the spokesperson for the Whiteheads to break the iceberg in the revelation of all the corruption, beginning with the universities and other stuff after that. No, the disclosure was actually going to take place on the 13th. Yes, that is correct. I believe that according to the intel that I got, he was going to reveal all that on I don't know if it's Fox, but it was going to be on a huge platform where he was going to be addressing millions. So yeah, that was going to be huge on the 13th, guys. You guys all have really good questions. Um, let's see. Thank you, Jennifer Carter, for that donation. I appreciate that, sister. Through my Zelle. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know this. Charlie Kirk started his crusade when he was only 18 years old out of his garage. Thank you for sharing that, Sherry Anderson. He never went to college. No one financed his work from a garage. I didn't know that. So it was all grassroots efforts. I love that. He did not depend on the system that he was fighting. I love that. No, I've never heard of the reverse rapture. People keep asking me about that. I'm going to have to look into that. Well, even if he had a bulletproof vest, remember, guys, they aimed at he. You know what? He could have had one because, like I mentioned in the report, weeks prior to the event yesterday, he tightened his security and he was speaking more encrypted, and he was feeling a sense of, hey, I need to be more protected, right? So he could have been wearing a bulletproof vest, and that's probably the reason why they went for his neck. Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you so much, Dakota Mindscape, for your super chat. She says, "Will people going to 5D be leaving the Earth?" I think I've already addressed that. That could be a possibility. Okay, so somebody answered the reverse rapture is when the bad get taken out. Interesting. Yes, the soul trap was dismantled. We won't be reincarnating anymore, guys. This is the final incarnation, right? We are now heading towards the ascension. All right, let's get ready to pray for his family. Our condolences goes out to his family, his children, and all his people that were closest to him. So let's do a little prayer for him and his family, guys, because he is a martyr. Martyr. He is a hero in our eyes, and like I said, this only fueled the truth or the movement for truth. Okay, this only fueled it even further. So in the name of the Christ, we ask that you continue protecting his family and children. And we also ask that at this time, his wife and children are being comforted, and all his family members at this time. May they be filled with the Spirit of God, knowing that he was a hero and that he's now in a better world, working with the Galactic Alliance, perhaps, and that his work will never be forgotten. So we send love, positive energy to his wife and children and all his family members at this time. By the collective force of the Galactic Jedis, we love you, Charlie. May you rest in peace. And we are with you in this fight, my friend. And I say these things in the name of the Christ. So be it. So be it. All right, one last super chat. One last super chat. This is a super chat from Hope is Real. Yesterday, I wanted to be in calm, silent, no electronics. My higher self said this is what I needed to do. Then my husband said Charlie Kirk and the word transgender came, like I energetically sensed. All right, well, thank you for sharing that. And again, guys, if you're doubting this, it isn't a coincidence that he was asked that particular question about the mass shootings, right? And violence. And right when he said, if this is not including gang violence, and right when he said that, the bullet goes through. And then behind him, the guy did some hand signs. The other guy went like this with his hat right before the bullet came. So, yeah, I believe that this was real. But then again, this is my opinion. You guys are entitled to your own opinion. But nevertheless, this movement will continue. The truth will come out. And everything will be exposed. All right. May the God first be with you all. And I will talk to you guys on Monday for another Alliance update.